Former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina recently declared her candidacy for the Republican nomination for president. On May 4th, Fiorina gave a misleading description of the options available for college students who need loans to pay for their education. She said, quote, "The government in the last several years under the Obama administration has nationalized the student loan industry. What the federal government has done is basically take over the student loan industry, and that means there are no choices. But worse than that, the federal government decides on the interest rate. Right now, the federal government is charging 6.5% and 7.5%. That's kind of high." Actually, legislation that was rolled into the reconciliation bill, which was passed as part of the Affordable Care Act in 2010, made changes to the federal student loan program. Here is a brief history. The federal government's foray into student loans began with the passage of the Higher Education Act in 1965. It first offered loans that originated with private banks but were guaranteed against default or in cases of death by the federal government. In 1993, a direct loan program was created, in which the government both lends the money and guarantees the loans. By 2010, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that 55% of federal student loans originated with banks, with the rest originating with the federal government. The reconciliation legislation changed that so that all federal student loans would originate with the government, a move that the Congressional Budget Office said would save taxpayers $61 billion over 10 years, mainly because the government had paid the banks more than the cost of the direct loans. More than half of that savings would go to the Pell Grant program for low-income students. Fiorina said that there are now no choices on student loans, but students weren't making choices before as to whether a bank or the government originated their federal loans. Instead, it was up to colleges and universities to choose which program they'd like to use, and students would get information on applying for a loan through college financial aid offices. Private banks continue to offer private education loans, just as they did before the Affordable Care Act, so students still have that choice. Fiorina said that the government is charging a kind of high interest rate of 6.5% and 7.5%, but those rates only pertain to graduate student loans at 6.21%, and direct plus loans for parents and graduate students at 7.21%. Federal Stafford loans for undergraduates, both subsidized and unsubsidized, are at 4.66%. To see more, go to FactCheck.org.